So hello, I'm Jared Slusher, and I'm sitting here today with Bud Smith, who is the owner of Signs Ohio and Federal Safety Solutions. Bud, thank you for joining me. Bud, tell us a little bit about your sign company that you have.
Well, I've got a commercial sign company. It's not a very large sign company. It's in northwest Ohio. We serve approximately 90-mile radius around a little town called Lime, Ohio. We primarily service, sell, and install signs. I do not have much of a manufacturing facility, which is kind of nice from a personnel standpoint. Kind of limits our hassles there. But we run about 3 to 4 trucks any given time, an office staff of a half dozen people.
All right, and so how did you get involved in safety?
Mainly fear, I believe would be the right word to say. In the sign business, everybody's exposed to safety issues, but our guys, because of where we are, we're always in heavily trafficked areas, it seems like, always along the interstates, always around the shopping malls, and then if that's not enough, you put them up in the air, so you might as well be putting bullseyes on their back. Everybody within a quarter mile can see us working, and everybody kind of knows it's a relatively hazardous environment. So aside from the standpoint of our own safety concerns for our guys, is also very conscious of the fact that other people are watching and we could be turned into for OSHA at any time, and that was always been a major concern of ours. So,
what made you choose to get into the safety program, developing a safety program?
Primarily just that. A number of years ago, we started implementing a lot of things. We was trying to put cautions in their paychecks, so they read little tidbits that we have. Every morning we'd try to remind them of issues as best we could. Never really comfortable that if we was ever inspected it would be good enough, but we just didn't know. We were just doing whatever we could. And then as time went on, I started coming across colleagues and stuff that had OSHA inspections, and seeing the results of those were not what I would call positive. And so we got even more concerned about it at that point. From there on, we started looking at things, usually via the internet or whatever. I came across a number of safety companies that purchased I don't know how many different manuals. We at one point even brought a person in that seemed to be pretty good about personnel issues. To do research for us and try to implement some things. That was kind of an expensive proposition because at the end of it all, we still didn't know and did not have a comfort for what we had. So it was just kind of an ongoing battle, and I got to say we improved along the way. But bottom line is I put a lot of money in and never did have a comfort level, and neither did the employees. We're where we should be or where we're supposed to be.
Right. So what turned it around for you and the company that you said that you needed to come up with some type of formal training and a formal system for your company?
As a lot of good things happen, it was totally by accident. By accident, the fact that it happened by accident, the fact that we were looking for it, I guess, allowed the positive accident to happen. But oddly enough, my son-in-law, who was very involved in paramedics and fire, and volunteered to local fire department, etc. He heard us talking one time, I think with me and my wife talking, and he made a comment that just simply, I think I can help. And I very simply was thinking, did not say, I really doubt it. I've been through so much that what we ended up doing is he volunteered to just come to our shop and take a walkthrough. And I did not have the time and really didn't want to take the time because I really didn't think it was going to be of any benefit. So my wife walked through the shop with him. And I'm guessing they were there an hour or two. It's only a 12,000 square foot shop, so it wasn't that big a deal without a whole bunch of mechanization from manufacturing standpoint is concerned. Left, didn't say too much. 2 or 3 weeks later, he comes back and has a couple manuals in his hand and another piece of paperwork that I'm still not sure what it was, but he basically explains it to me and then makes a comment that kind of surprised me, I guess, or shocked me in a way. And that comment simply was, with this stuff here, you're now OSHA compliant. What shocked me about that was I didn't even know I was supposed to be OSHA compliant or that there was a set thing you can do to become OSHA compliant. I figured it's just a process, then you just are, yeah, you got this, you've showed them that, you got the fall protection, whatever, they're happy. But I guess that was my first realization is there is a set groundwork for being OSHA compliant. Some basic things you got to start before you even start training the employees. Mm-hmm. And so that was a big time realization right there. That was followed up by another walkthrough by my son-in-law, and he basically went through the shop, put a number of labels on the different items out there. A big one was the electric boxes that we got scattered, as all shops do, scattered throughout the place. Some exit signs. Just did a plethora of things, none of which was really all that expensive or time consuming. He was done with the project in an hour or two probably. But he comes back in and says, well, I probably saved you $30,000 or $40,000 worth of OSHA fines. And, I thought that's a pretty good hour or two spent at that point. So that's kind of how it all evolved, how we found it, and where my safety program started coming from.
Absolutely. So you started to put together, based off of what you were learning from Jordan, a system so that you could help other businesses become compliant like you had done for your sign shop.
Exactly. It's one of those things where after he lays it all out, and then he takes the walk through the shop, and we're talking again, and I kind of reviewed the information he gave me before, and I'm starting to see, well, this really isn't that difficult. At least the basic fines and stuff that was previous to that point, an unknown, which I guess it was a little scary or fearful. It's like not knowing what your enemy is and what they're looking for and where their weak spots are. All of a sudden, I knew I had all the basics covered. And it was a huge relief. It was like an anvil being taken off your back from that standpoint, because even though we haven't done a whole bunch of training, well, at that point we hadn't done any from his standpoint, it's just what we've done in the past, but just knowing that when OSHA comes in, that they're going to ask for, the law, the 300 log, the training manual, your documentation and that stuff, and knowing that I've got it was a huge relief. And then, of course, my entrepreneurial spirit kicks in, and I'm thinking, there's a whole bunch of sign companies and a whole bunch of other companies, small business owners basically, that are just exactly where I'm at. We don't have the time to do this kind of stuff. I'm busy doing signs. Other people are doing bending metal or whatever they're doing. And they can't hire somebody. They can't afford to hire somebody. They can't take time out of their own time to figure it out. What do you do? And that's basically where I came from. And I'm starting to look at this paperwork. I'm going, well, you can cookie cutter a lot of this. And of course, my son-in-law Jordan goes, what are you talking about? I'm going, this isn't that difficult. I mean, there's a little bit of personalization to this basic entry-level stuff, but, for a very small amount of effort, really, you could get these basics covered for the average businessman in a very little period of time with very little money. And that's kind of what started the idea of what ended up with Federal Safety Solutions.
Right. So what are some of those things that a business can do right now to start implementing that in their company?
Well, when we first started with the concept, we decided to pick a few of my close cohorts of personal friends, other business people that I knew, and basically asked them to be guinea pigs. And the way we started it was Jordan. I asked them to be guinea pigs, told them it wouldn't cost them anything. We just need to find this stuff out. And Jordan went through and done a quick walkthrough, just like he did at my plant. He looked at what their existing safety documentation is, what their training has been, all the stuff from the office perspective, and then he took the next step and took a walk through their shops. And then from there, he did exactly like he did for me. He went back with their the 300 logs filled out from the previous year. He went back with the training manuals prepared. He went back with the training documentation laid out. He went back with decals and plopped it wherever he plops these things. And that's basically where it started. We started off about half a dozen of those people, and then that was followed up by a training system. And the importance of that is OSHA apparently wants us to conduct safety meetings with our employees, whether they prefer office and non-office, but all your employees at least monthly they're saying. And they've got a number of categories and areas that they definitely want you to cover in that period of time. They got some that's kind of optional based upon who you are and what kind of work you do. So then from after that initial visit, we started sending them some really exciting PowerPoints from OSHA. And what we did was we would gather the guys in, try to find a time of the month, and I say try because somebody's always off sick, somebody's always coming in late, somebody's always on vacation, but we try to bring them all in at the same time, sit down in front of this PowerPoint presentation, which we put on a computer for them, and walk that through, and then had everybody sign off, and we now had documentation that they covered whatever that topic was, electrical safety, fall protection, whatever it could have been. We had documentation of that. That has since evolved to, because of some of the issues I had mentioned earlier, somebody's always missing. And it took up my time even to think about when we're going to do these training things and then reschedule and reschedule and reschedule. So because of that issue, we went ahead and figured out a way to change these PowerPoints into kind of a active video, if you will. Same material, but it basically is not near so boring. Just my son-in-law says, death by PowerPoint. And it's a lot quicker because we are presenting, they're seeing visual stuff on screen, they're hearing the audible with it, so they don't have to read all this chart of information. And then at the end, they can take the test. And what's really nice is they can do it at home. It's one-on-one. So as soon as they take that test, it's registered in the computer and documentation done. So that took a lot of pressure off of the office staff, whether it be me, and there was usually one or two other people kind of overseeing these people getting it done. And even though it wasn't too difficult, even though it was there presented to us every month, it still took extra time from our schedule to get that accomplished. And the video thing has worked so much better. Mm-hmm. It's very slick.
So essentially the video provides them this monthly training that OSHA requires them to have.
As I understand OSHA, which is not much at all, and the more I learn, at least the less I know. But yes, I would have to answer yes to that question. We now know and can prove that the employee done the training, he understands the information, and it's documented all at one time. And most of these are less than 15 minutes, from start of the video to the end of the test. So it don't take up much time. They can do it over their lunch hour, or like I say, I think they can even do it over their smartphones if they're so inclined, probably. But
and one of the things is the monthly baby steps. Baby
steps are big. The reason we decided to implement that is having my son-in-law, whose name is Jordan, by the way, having him go through the plants takes time, and time equates to money to individuals, and he goes through there and he'll look at whatever operations are going on at that time and what might be happening in the future based upon the equipment and the scope of their jobs, their manufacturing. Then he will have to give recommendations just like an OSHA individual would give recommendations. Only trouble is, Jordan's giving the recommendations, OSHA gives it in the form of fines.
Right.
Big difference.
Right.
They don't recommend anything, they just say you're doing that wrong. When you do that, a lot of times that requires people to change their habits, systems to change within the company. And if you're doing it with electrical and your fault protection, all these other areas that you're working with, guarding and stuff, that is a big apple to take a bite out of at one shot. Where we came in, the baby steps is something in less than an hour a month. You can assign somebody to set through the baby step things, which always correlates with the training, the safety training, the OSHA safety training. So it kind of works together on that. So the employees just see a video on whatever that topic is. You're coming through with it and giving steps to look at your plant and saying, well, oh shoot, I better put that guard in or whatever. The employees now know what you're doing and why you're doing it. It takes minutes. It don't take very much time. It don't take up very much money. And slowly over the course of the year, you've pretty well covered all the major areas of your plant and are now, I'm not going to say OSHA cleared or, that there's no way they're ever going to find you, but you've probably taken care of 75, 80, 85% of your potential problems you would have had if that OSHA inspector came by a year earlier versus opposed to a year after you started the program. So it really puts you in a framework that you can prove to OSHA that I have got a safety consciousness to us. We are actively doing things toward the safety area, and this is what we've done. This is the money we've spent. This is documented. This is all the improvements we made. You still might not be happy with it, but it sure puts you in a lot stronger position when they come back, and even the things that you did miss that they didn't, there's not many there, and you're on a basis of strength and talking with them on saying, well, if we do this now, you can reduce fines a lot easier and things like that. So it just it takes the weight off of you, and especially the possibility of losing your company, because you can get fined to the point where it just isn't worth maintaining. The unsettling part of that is, and we've done a lot of research, and I still am waiting for the letter from an attorney stating this, but I personally can't see where a lot of people come to me, I'll put it this way, a lot of people come to me and say, well, if it gets to that point, I'll just close my doors.
Right.
And I thought that was a valid, yeah, okay, you can do that. Everybody's got an LLC or a sub-S corp or some sort of partnership of some kind. So you got some sort of what we used to call corporate veil protecting the owners and stuff. What's been a little unsettling at this point with all the research we've done is apparently that isn't the case with OSHA. As with the IRS and a number of other governmental agencies, they seem to have carte blanche to do what they want to do.
Right.
And I just the other day seen one of the studies is actually a report that stated that they will rip right through the corporate veil. They can go through and basically hold liable not only the employers but even the employees that are violating safety violations. Mm-hmm. So the corporate veil isn't as strong as I thought it would be or could be. Would they, if there was no accidents or anything? I kind of doubt if they'd push the issue. If there was an accident, somebody got hurt, I'm pretty sure they would push the issue. And close the company or not, they would probably come right after the individual. So that's very unsettling. And something, if I was going to say one thing, that argument ain't going to work. So if you was thinking if they come in and you get nailed and you can't keep the doors open, your house might be up for auction as well to pay those fines. So it kind of depends on the inspectors and what their attitude is the day that comes about.
Right. So essentially, Federal Safety Solutions provides the solution that allows them to get their workplace safety compliant. It gives them the training so that they can avoid these fines and avoid them being able to come after personal assets of the corporate officers.
Yeah, we can't stop them from going after assets of corporate officers, and there's no guarantees to anything. But what the Federal Safety Solutions does do is it will get you up to speed as far as all your basics. It will, number two, it will get your monthly training cranked out and documented. And it will provide the baby steps you need to get your shop, I hesitate the word compliant, but much more compliant, I'll do it that way, than what you are at this present time, guaranteed that. And then what that does in the end result is it prepares you for when that OSHA inspector is going to show up, and he will show up. Everybody knows in our community in the last 3 or 4 months, we've known 4 different places I can name off. I knew 2 of those personally, and it did not bode well. They are under a budget just like I'm under a budget, and even though the government prints money infinitum, they are still put under a budget. And the big corporations already have very adept safety departments, and they're already watched pretty closely. And where OSHA knows that they can pretty much guarantee to have some pretty easy fines is small business, because we've been kind of unseen and under the radar for quite a while. That's not the case anymore.
Right. Well, Bud, thank you for talking with us today. And if you're interested in signing up for Federal Safety Solutions, you can head to fssamerica.com and click the Enroll Now link to enroll your company today. Thank you, Bud.
You bet.